If you're watching this, please consider subscribing. It'd be a great help. Tom Gates, Super Good Skills, Almost, by Liz Pigeon. Mr. Fullerman has been in a surprisingly gloomy mood this week. I don't know why. You'd think he'd be happy as it's almost the end of term. I know I am. Yippee! My nearly end of term leap of joy. Mr. Fullerman keeps sighing and frowning and then saying things like, "Which part of sit down do you not understand? Please push your chairs in, don't scrape them. No balancing books on heads. Pens are for writing and drawing. What are they for?" I think Mr. Fullerman was expecting us all to say, "Writing and drawing, sir." But Brad Galloway decided they made excellent drumsticks as well, as he demonstrated with a spectacular drum roll on his desk. "Put the pens down, Brad." So he did, but not in a sensible way. The pens went flying through the air and narrowly missed Amber, Leroy, and Mr. Fullerman. Uh-oh. Brad got sent to sit outside the classroom and think about how silly he'd been. But the rest of the lesson, we all had to sit in silence, which wasn't easy for me to do, as my head was so stuffed full of things to talk about. Do three? Cat or dog? It was even harder to concentrate as Brad kept appearing at the door when Mr. Fullerman wasn't looking. I tried not to laugh, but Mr. Fullerman's face wasn't helping, so it gave me an idea for some drawings, which was a lot more entertaining than doing my worksheets for sure. Break time! Derek's already waiting for me. We have to finish a very important conversation from this morning about a big decision. When I see Derek straight away, I ask him, "Have you made up your mind yet?" "No, I can't decide what to do. It's tricky to choose. We need to sort it out soon. This is important." I know. I wish we had more time. As we're discussing what to do, more of our friends come over. "That sounds serious," Solid says. It is serious. It could be the difference between having a good band practice and a terrible one. Norman hears the words band practice and looks up. "I haven't missed a band practice, have I?" "No, sorry Norman, we haven't had a chance to talk to you about anything yet." "We need to decide on something really important," I add dramatically, while I'm trying to think of the best way to tell Norman. Marcus butts in. "What are you two talking about?" "If you had to make this decision, Marcus, you'd be exactly the same. He'd probably be a lot worse." "We might be able to help you if you tell us," Solid says. "Go on," Florence calls out. "We have to choose something," Derek explains. "Choose what?" Marcus says. "Calm down, Marcus. We have to." Peep! Mr. Sprocket blows the whistle for the end of break. "Hurry up," Marcus shouts. "Okay, we have to decide what flavour alien snacks to have at our band practice." "Is that it?" Marcus walks off in a huff, like we wasted his time. Amy and Florence are pulling faces too. Norman says, "Phew, I thought you might want a new drummer." "No way," I assure him. "It's serious. Remember when the only snack we had was a packet of dead fly biscuits?" I remind Derek and Norman. "How could we forget? Worst band practice ever," Derek shudders. "Even I don't like those biscuits," Norman agrees. Yuck. I think everyone understands why choosing the right snack is very important now. Not. Everyone apart from Amy, who still thinks my snack dilemma is stupid. I know this because when I sit down in class, she tells me, "Honestly, who gets that worked up about what flavour of snacks to have? It's nuts." "Crisps, actually, crunchy alien ones," I say, trying to make a joke. Hilarious, Amy says, but not in a understanding the funny joke way. I should probably just stop talking because the snacks and keep my mouth shut, but for some reason I don't. The problem is I really like the cheesy feet flavour alien snacks, you know, the ones shaped like massive feet. But Derek likes the pickled onion, and now we found out about 2 new flavours, smoky chicken and a very interesting sounding chip and ketchup flavour that could be amazing, but we don't know yet because we haven't had a chance to try them. They all sound disgusting, Amy tells me, pulling a face. Cheesy feet flavour sounds disgusting, but they're actually delicious, I point out. My mum hardly ever asks what snacks we want, so I don't want to miss out. Do you see why it's so important now? Not really. Awkward silence. I'm trying to think of something else to say when Amy asks me a question. Tom, is your band still called Dog Zombies? Yes. Do you practice a lot then? Loads, if you want to be the best band in the world, like we do. It's important. I may have exaggerated a tiny little bit. When's your next band practice then? Oh, I don't know yet. I thought you said you practiced all the time. We do. We'll probably get together this week. At least the snacks are sorted. Exactly. Marcus leans back in his chair and tries to tell Amy that Dog Zombies are a rubbish band. I ignore him and take out my school planner. Then, in a very organised and sensible way, I write in big letters, hoping that Amy will see what I've written. Urgent and very important arranged day for band practice. Far more important than snacks. Go for cheesy feet and pickled onion flavour. I add that last bit in tiny letters beneath. There, I've made a decision. All done now. The end. I don't have to think about snacks at all anymore. Well, maybe just a little bit. Imagine what other snacks and flavours there could be. Crispy star and cheese nibbles, spicy alien, salt and onion shells, chocolate-covered worms with sprinkles, sausage and sock flavour. Yum! Sometimes, when Mr. Fullerman comes back from break, if he's had a nice cup of tea and a biscuit, he can be all friendly and jolly and look like this. But not today. Sit down and no playing with pens, Brad. That goes for all of you, he says in a really stern voice. Now, as there's only one more day left of school, I have something else planned. A murmur goes around as we think, hooray, at last something fun to do. Yes, but that doesn't last long. Inside these folders are work that needs to be completed by the end of the holidays. If your folder is empty, give yourself a pat on the back. I look over to Marcus Meldry. He starts doing some kind of weird dance. Why are you doing that? I ask. I've done all my work, so I'm giving myself a pat on the back. He stops when Mr. Fullerman hands him a folder stuffed with paper. This needs to be finished, Marcus. But, sir, no buts, Mr. Fullerman says. Some kids start laughing because Mr. Fullerman has just said the word buts really loudly. Ha 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 ha. A full-on beady eye glare puts a stop to that pretty fast. Marcus is really fed up. You can tell from his face what he's thinking, which gives me another idea for some drawings. Draw Marcus and fill in the speech bubbles. He could be thinking something smart, not, I know I'm a twit. Mr. Fullerman has been walking around the class handing out folders, but there's nothing for me yet. I carry on with my game until he's standing in front of me and holding up another folder. You're one of the few people with no work to finish at all, Mr. Fullerman tells me. Wow, that's good. I'm sure I had some stuff left to do, but I'm not going to argue with Mr. Fullerman. To make sure Marcus can hear me, I make a big point of saying loudly, "Thanks, sir. I try my best. Does that mean I can do fun things now?" "Sorry, Tom, I'm not talking to you. This is Amy's folder. Here's yours. It's quite full." "Oh no, so it is. I have so many bits of work I haven't finished that they spill everywhere." "You have even more than I do," Marcus says, laughing. "Well done, Amy. You need to get on with it," Mr. Fullerman says, tapping the table. "How do you always get your work done on time?" I ask Amy, who just shrugs her shoulders like it's the easiest thing in the world. It isn't. "I use my school planner and write things down. That when I've finished, I tick them off my list." "You have a list?" Yeah, just to make sure I don't forget any homework." "Whoa," I mutter. "Homework. Whoa," I mutter. She shows me her school planner and how she writes things down. It's all very impressive. My planner doesn't look anything like that. I flick through the pages to where my holiday dates are. Then I show Amy what I normally do to get my homework done. Not much. Here's the start of the holiday. This is the where I relax for a whole week. Right above here is where Mum and Dad ask me, "Have you got any homework?" So I say no. Then, the night before school, I stay up late and think of an excuse for why it's not done, or try and do it in a rush. That happens every time. I draw Amy a picture which explains a bit more. Sometimes I panic and think of an excuse at the same time. I do an impression which makes Amy laugh. "No, really, that's what I do." "Oh, I thought you were joking. I'm going to write a list like you to do to help me get everything done," I whisper to Amy. "Good idea," she agrees. I start thinking about my list. I know. I'll make a big list of homework excuses. I can look at my list if I need in a hurry. 1 star means I've already used it. 2 stars means I could risk using it again. 2 stars. The dog ate my homework. 1 star. The dog buried my homework. 1 star. The cat chewed my homework. The cat sat on my homework. The cat slept on my homework. These can be cats or dogs, obviously. The dog stole my homework. Dad washed my homework. My homework got soaked by rain. I discovered that my sister was an alien and was too surprised to do my homework. Amy has been looking over my shoulder. "Is that your list?" "It's one of my lists. I'm going to do a homework list as well." "Maybe." "Did you really tell Mr. Fullerman that your sister was an alien?" "Have you seen my sister? It could be true." "I remember when you said your bag got stuck in a tree," Amy reminds me. "I'd forgotten about that one." I add it to the list with 2 stars. While I'm trying to think of more excuses, Mr. Fullerman is suddenly standing right behind me. I'm convinced that teachers have lessons on how to sneak around the classrooms, because 1 minute Mr. Fullerman is sitting at his desk and the next he's here. And I didn't see or hear him at all. I think my ninja skills are quite good, but Mr. Fullerman's are off the scale. "That's an interesting list, Tom," he says before I have a chance to cover it up. "I'm writing down ideas for my story, sir," I say in a quick thinking kind of way. "Oh, I see. Homework excuses are part of your story. I'll be looking forward to reading it. It sounds very interesting, Tom." "It will be, sir," I mumble. "Oh, great. Now I'll have to fit one of my excuses into the story. I'll do my best, but it's not going to be easy. My sister is an alien. True, by Tom Gates, who isn't an alien. There I was, on my way to school and minding my own business. I'd done my homework on time, as always, and it was safely in my bag ready to give to my teacher. Then Suddenly, there was a bright light in the sky. I closed my eyes at first and then squinted as the light hovered above me. What could it be? I thought, as you would. Was it a bird? Was it a plane? No, it was a UFO. That's unidentified flying object, in case you didn't know. Was I really watching an alien spacecraft? Yes, I was, because it only went and landed right in front of me, which was a shock, I can tell you. I stood very still and watched as the doors began to slowly open. It reminds me of when Grandad Bob yawns. Then, from out of the darkness inside a spaceship, a small green alien with one eye and one leg appeared and started hopping towards me. The alien looked me up and down and said, "Take me to your sister," which I really wasn't expecting. So, just to make sure I hadn't misheard the alien, I asked, "Do you mean Delia?" And the alien said, "That's right." I'd always had my suspicions about Delia, i.e. wearing sunglasses all the time and generally being weird. But here was the proof that Delia really was an alien. Then I started to wonder why the alien wanted to see my sister. So I asked it as a question, "If I do tell you where she is, what will you do?" And the alien answered, "Delia will teach us the ways of the humans so we can invade and take over your planet," which seemed a bit wrong to me. After all, Delia might be an alien, but she still was my weird sister. She wouldn't take over our... She wouldn't want our planet invaded, I'm sure. I had to think of a plan quickly, a really good one that would save the world, and maybe even Delia too. It was a lot of pressure, but I did it. You are very lucky. Everything you need to know about humans I have written down in a secret document in my bag. Delia helped me. You can take it now if you leave her alone. The alien thought for a moment and said, "Nice try, human boy." So I added, "I'll throw in a packet of wafers as well." They're delicious and humans love them, which sealed the deal. I handed over my school bag. The alien took the lot and couldn't fly away fast enough. There was only one problem. I was late for school and no longer had my homework. I tried to explain to my teacher what had happened, but he wasn't very impressed. "But sir, it's true. My homework was taken by an alien. I gave it up to save the world and my alien sister," which I admit did sound a little dramatic, but I knew the truth, and now you do too. The end. I glance up to make sure Mr. Fullerman is still at his desk. He is. It's becoming very clear that he has no plans at all to do anything fun. That last worksheet could be it. Normally, I'd be really fed up about that, but at the moment, on a scale of being fed up, I'm only about here, which is not bad, jolly. That's because, for the first time in ages, I have something else to look forward to in a few days' time. I'm going on holiday! That holiday doodle took quite a while to draw. I'm hungry now. I am so ready to eat that when the bell goes for lunch, I quickly grab my bag and get out as fast as I can. But then, when I go and scrape my chair when I push it out and back in, Mr. Fullerman calls me back and makes me do it again, quietly. It takes 2 more attempts before I get it in, with passable entry from Mr. Fullerman. By the time I get down to lunch, the queue is huge. Then I remember I have a packed lunch, so I go and join Solid and a few other kids in my class. But before I can eat, I have something very important to do. A lunchbox inspection. This is to make sure that there's nothing unusual lurking inside. First of all, Number 1, I open my lunchbox carefully. 2, I check that it smells okay. 3, look out for any of the following old vegetables or weird fruit. Or unidentifiable sandwich fillings, or notes from Mum, or anything that Delia has added. So far, mine looks okay. Bringing strange food into school is never a good idea if you ask me, because it always attracts far too much attention, not in a good way. This is what happened last week. I was sitting near Florence, who brought some kind of small fruit that I'd never seen before. The skin was a dark reddish colour and it was all hard and lumpy. But then she went and peeled it out and popped something that looked completely a white jelly eyeball. Florence ate one and then spat a shiny black stone in her hand. Yummy. I love these, she said. What are they? Norman wanted to know. They're delicious, she said, showing him the contents of her hand. They're weird, I told her. The whole fruit looked nasty to me. Florence thought that was funny, that her fruit was causing such a stir, so she peeled 2 more, popped out the stones, and then, along with 3 of my carrot sticks, she put them on a plate. Look, she said, laughing. A kid walking past said, Ooh, are those eyes? No, silly, they're lychees, Florence tried to explain. But Mark Clump thought she said leeches. He stood up and shouted, Did you know that leeches can suck your blood? I didn't like the sound of lychees. Leeches, no one did. Yuck, they look disgusting. Then Norman thought it would be funny to pick up the plate with the eyes on and wave them around so they kind of wobbled. There, looking at you. Florence was laughing a lot, which only made him do it some more. He lifted the plate really close to my face and said, Eyeballs! I pushed them away and the lychees rolled off the plate. Hey, they're mine! Florence tried to grab them, but Norman beat her to it and stuffed them both into his mouth. Norman, Florence shouted, so he spat them back into his hand. I'm not going to eat them now, Florence said crossly. So he ate them again. Are they nice? Solid wondered. Norman pretended they were the most disgusting fruit he'd ever eaten in his life. It was quite convincing until he put his hand to his mouth and said, delicious. So we knew he was joking. We'd been making a lot of noise, so Miss Worthington decided to come over and say, Quiet down or I'll have to sit there and keep my eye on all of you. Yes, Miss Worthington, she said, and waited until she was gone before Norman made us laugh again. Look, I'm keeping my eye on too. Florence didn't let him have any more of her lychees. That whole weird fruit thing took up most of our lunchtime, and I can't help thinking if Florence had brought in an apple instead, nothing would have happened. Unless the apple had a bug inside, because that's happened before. So looking through my lunchbox today, I was very glad there were no nasty surprises inside. I checked and double-checked. I ate pretty much everything, apart from the millions of carrot sticks Mum gave me. Not even a rabbit could eat that many. But they do make very good vampire teeth, see? Oh, and there's an orange I haven't eaten either. Sometimes I like to draw pictures around my fruit. I call them fruit doodles. As Derek is still eating, I get a pen and draw around my orange like this. It looks pretty good. As well as fruit and straw doodles, I like making the peel from my orange into teeth, like this. I've still got them in my teeth when I go back to class, trying to answer my name when Mr. Fullerman calls the afternoon register. It's a bit tricky. I think I've got away with it until he tells me, take the orange peel teeth out, please. He's not impressed and still a bit grumpy if you ask me. Then Brad suddenly puts his hand up and asks if we're going to do anything fun for the last day of term. Like we normally do, sir, he adds. Good point, Brad. Mr. Fullerman narrows his eyes and says, well, we could have a quiz. A quiz? There's a murmur around the class of "aww" that lets Mr. Fullerman know the quiz wasn't exactly what we were all expecting. Oh, I'll see what I can come up with for tomorrow then. Hopefully not just a quiz, I whisper to Amy. I don't mind a quiz, she tells me. That's because you know the answers to the questions. I usually get stuck with a team. You know who. Marcus is listening to me. And that someone always thinks they know all the answers but gets them wrong. You can't be talking about me because I'm really good at quizzes, Marcus says. That would be true if you got points for the wrong answers. Go on then, ask me a question. Why are you rubbish at quizzes? I'm not. Next question. Okay, what do you call a boomerang that doesn't come back? Which is a joke that's been going around school, and a bit like a question. Don't tell me I know this one, Marcus says while I wait. And wait. He doesn't know it. The answer is a stick. I was just about to say that, Marcus tells me. He wasn't. Go on, ask me another question. I can't think of another one right now, so I ask something that's really easy. What are you doing next week during the holidays? What kind of question is that? One you should be able to answer. He thinks I'm trying to trick him. I'm not. I can see he's thinking about it. Then he says, well, now you ask, I'm going to go and visit Chocolate World. It's supposed to be fantastic, and you'll never believe what they have there. Let me think. Maybe chocolate, I say sarcastically. Apart from that, they have loads of really amazing rides, and one of them goes through a river made of, guess what? Chocolate? White chocolate, actually. I can't wait. It does sound good, so I ask, hey Marcus, can you bring me something nice back from Chocolate World? I know he won't, but it's worth a try. What kind of something? He asks suspiciously. Chocolate would be nice, just saying. I've got a better idea. I'll get you a badge that says I didn't go to Chocolate World. Ha ha ha. I'd prefer some chocolate, to be honest. Marcus is still laughing at his own hilarious joke when the bell goes for the end of school. Mr. Fullerman stands up and starts making announcements about tomorrow. Don't forget that tomorrow is blah, 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 blah. I tune out. Okay? Scrape. But with everyone scraping their chairs, I can't hear half of it. Oh well, if it was important, we'd have a letter to take home. Besides, I'm in a hurry to leave. Derek's class often gets out of school before mine. I don't know why, so he's already waiting outside for me. Brilliant, let's go, he says like he's in a hurry. Hang on, I want to have a quick check before we start walking. Occasionally, if I'm lucky, I'll find the odd 5 or 10p at the bottom of my bag, left over from my dinner money. Then we get to stop at the shop and buy something small to keep us going. While I'm busy searching, Derek starts to pat his face. He's my best friend, and I thought I knew everything about him. But I've never seen him do that before. What are you doing? I ask. I'm playing a tune on my face. You open and close your mouth, and it makes a different sort of note. Listen, Derek demonstrates by playing quite a good version of Happy Birthday on his cheeks. He's in full flow, and I got very excited and shout, Fantastic! Yeah! Don't go crazy. It's not that good, he says. No, I found money at the bottom of my bag. We celebrate with a high five, and then Derek shows me how to play a celebratory tune as well, which is a lot harder than it looks. We're both in full flow face patting when Amy and her friend walk past. Band practice started already then, she laughs. It's a good time to stop anyway. Your face is red, Derek tells me. So is yours, I say. We leave a good gap between Amy and the other girls before setting off home. The first thing I do when I get home is finish eating the fruit chew I bought so Mum doesn't know I've been to the shop. Done. She'd been getting everything sorted for our holiday, and straight away she says, "Let's get your bag packed, Tom." "What now?" "We're not leaving yet. I can do my own packing," I tell Mum confidently. "I know you can, but remember, the last time you packed, you forgot to bring any pants." She had to remind me about that. Some things are essential. "It's okay, Mum, I'll bring some pants," I say quickly so she doesn't keep on talking about them. "I mean, these plastic containers, they're always useful on holidays," Mum tells me. Really? I don't know why, but at least she didn't say pants again. "Leave out what you want to take and I'll pack it for you, including some clean pants." Groan. We're on holiday to a place called Pine Tree Riviera. I've seen pictures and it looks a lot fancier than the campsites we normally go to. Dad says we're staying in a mobile villa, which sounds better than a tent. The only bad thing about the holiday is Delia is coming too. She's not exactly over the moon about it either. The other day, in the kitchen, Mum and Dad had a big discussion about why Delia couldn't stay at home. I wasn't supposed to hear it, but it was hard not to, especially when Delia shouted, "But I don't even like holidays or the sun." Dad said she didn't have to worry about the sun, as it would probably rain every day anyway. "That's another reason not to come then," Delia told me. Mum said it wasn't going to rain. Well, not every day. "Come on, Delia, being together for a lovely family holiday will be fun." "Fun is one thing it won't be," Delia told them. I could tell she wasn't happy. She was grumbling about lots of things and kept saying, "My friends are doing this and my friends are doing that." I had to hand it to her. She was really trying her best not to come with us. If it was up to me, that chat would have gone like this: "Delia, I'm not coming on holiday with you." Me: "Fine. See? Easy. No fuss, hassle, or arguments." I stood outside and pressed my ear against the door to hear more of this conversation, but it started to get a bit muffled. So, in the end, I just pretended I didn't know it was a private chat and walked in. Dad was in the middle of saying, "If we agree, you'll have to share a room." And that's when I panicked. "Share a room with Delia? No way! I'm not sharing a room," I shout. "You don't have to share a room, Tom. We're talking to Delia. Out you go." I was so relieved that I didn't really think any more about it. I just went and did some drawing and looked forward to the holiday instead. Yeah! Last day of school. It's amazing the difference one day can make. The morning I've woken up extra early and decided that I'm going to call for Derek, which is a change. Normally, he ends up waiting for me. I get all my stuff together for school, which doesn't take long. Then I have a swift breakfast before I head over to Derek's. I ring the doorbell quite a few times before someone comes to open it. It's Derek's dad, and from the way he looks, I'm guessing he's just woken up. "Tom, you're early. Derek's not ready yet. Come in and wait for him." Rooster is very excited to see me. Mr. Fingal says, "Down, Rooster." Too late. "Leave Tom alone," he adds, while talking to me in the kitchen. Rooster follows. "Help yourself to some breakfast. I'll get Derek to hurry up." Then he tells Rooster to stay. But that doesn't work either. To stop him slobbering on me, I grab a handful of biscuits from the bowl, and then, one by one, I chuck them to him for him to catch. "Here you go, Rooster." It's better him catching them. Then I realise where I'm throwing them. Some land in a bowl of cereal. I'm about to try and take them out when Derek and Mr. Fingal come in quickly. So I put the spoon away quickly. Did you want some breakfast, Tom? Mr. Fingal asks me. No thanks, I've eaten already. I've had these then. Unless you want them, Derek, I'll pour my own bowl, he says, and I breathe a sigh of relief. Then Mr. Fingal sits down and starts eating the dog treats. It's not too late to change your mind, Mr. Fingal asks me again. No, really, I'm fine. I keep quiet as Derek and his dad eat breakfast. You're early, Derek says. I just nod. I'm sure we're supposed to be doing something today, but I can't remember what, he adds, looking at me. It's the last day of term, if that's what you mean. Then Rooster starts crunching his dog biscuits really loudly in the corner, and Mr. Fingal pulls a face. This cereal tastes like it's got a lot of fibre, so it must be very good for me, he adds. I don't say a word. Derek and I are walking to school when I ask him, have you ever eaten one of Rooster's dog biscuits? No. Why? Because I think your dad just has. Luckily, when I tell Derek what happened, he thinks it's hilarious. So, if I throw a ball up for Rooster and Dad jumps up to catch it, now I'll know why he chuckles. We're nearly at the school gates, and Derek is still convinced that something is happening. It's the last day of term. If we've forgotten something, how bad can it be? He tells me. Quite bad, Derek says. It's no school uniform day. Oh, the one time we could wear what we want. And look at us both. I knew I'd forgotten something. Looking around, I tried to be positive and tell Derek, don't panic, I'm sure we won't be the only kids wearing our uniform. You'll see. We could go home and change, I suggest. Derek points at Mr. Keene, who's standing by the school gates. It's too late. He wouldn't let us leave now, which is true. I think about taking off my sweatshirt or rolling up the sleeves to make my uniform look different. There must be something I can do. Think. Then, ping! I have a plan. I know what to do, I tell Derek. First, I need a pen, so I take one out my bag. You're going to draw me a picture? He wonders. Sort of. You know we have white t-shirts in our PE bags, the ones hanging up in the cloakroom in school. That's right. How about I draw a Dog Zombies band logo on them? Brilliant! But when are you going to do that? Derek asks. It's a good point. We're not allowed into school yet. I'm just wondering what to do next, when who should open the door right in front of us but Buster Jones. He's behaving himself these days and even being helpful by putting out chairs for assembly. Buster, keep that door open, please, I shout. Sorry, Gatesy, you're not allowed. I'll get into trouble if I let you inside. What's with the uniform? We forgot it was non-uniform day. If you let us through, we can get our PE t-shirts from the cloakroom and wear those instead. Buster doesn't look convinced. If it won't take long, I have super good ninja skills. Buster narrows his eyes and thinks for a while and eventually says, okay, but not both of you, just Tom, and don't tell anyone I let you in or you'll be in trouble with me. Thanks, Buster. I take a deep breath and step silently into school, ready to put my skills into action. I check left and right, then sneak along the wall. So far, so good. I edge closer and closer until, yes, I've made it. Our PE bags are easy to find. So I grab them and creep back towards the door. Buster and Derek are waving furiously for me to hurry up. I'm nearly there when Mrs. Worthington suddenly appears. So I hide and stay very still. It's nice to see you boys are keen to come into school, but you're a bit early. Now close the door behind you, please. I can see Derek trying to say something, but, it's no good. Mrs. Worthington Mrs. Worthington, closes the door and I'm left inside, hiding as she walks away. I decide to make a dash for freedom. Then Mr. Sprocket walks past and I'm forced to stay hidden until the bell goes for the start of the school day. Ding-a-ling-a-ling! I make my way to class and pretend I'm just very early, which is unusual for me. Mr. Fullerman thinks so too. Is that really you, Tom? Yes, sir, I'm keen. But then I remember that Derek has my bag and I'm still in my uniform. So I say, I'm keen to change out of my uniform and go into my t-shirt after I've drawn on it. That's why I'm early. Mr. Fullerman sighs. Go on then, hurry up. Mr. Fullerman is in a better mood than yesterday, so I borrow some pens and start doodling. Thanks, sir. If I do say so myself, they look ace. Just as Derek appears with my bag, I finish his t-shirt. We do a super speedy swap and I breathe a sigh of relief that 1, didn't get caught by Miss Worthington. 2, we are no longer the school uniform nerds. That badge of honour goes to Marcus Meldrew, who didn't realise it was no uniform day either. Shame. I forgot, Marcus says, looking really fed up. It's bad enough sitting next to him when he's in a good mood and being all smug, but when he's in a bad mood, it's even worse. And it's the last day of term, so I'm feeling generous. I show Marcus my t-shirt. I could do one for you if you like. Marcus looks at me suspiciously. What do you want? Nothing. Just don't be miserable all day. I'll get my PE t-shirt then, but I don't want your band name on the front. Just my name, okay? He says, cheering up a bit. Fine, but you'd better hurry up. We don't have much time. Mr. Fullerman is arranging some stuff on a table as the other kids arrive for class. While he's still busy, Marcus gets me his t-shirt and I start drawing on it as he watches, a bit too closely for my liking. Don't spell my name wrong, he tells me. I wasn't going to, but now he said it, it's very tempting to write Marcus or Norcus or Mercus or Marcus or Parcus. But I don't. I do a very nice t-shirt design. I finish what I think is a very good doodle on Marcus's t-shirt when he says, "What's going on the back? It's a bit empty." "Nothing, I was just helping you out, remember?" "Can you do something else? Not your band logo," Marcus says, ignoring what I just said. "Pass it here quickly. I'll draw one of my monsters," I sigh. I do this, and Marcus puts it on. He even says thanks, which is something. Then he starts grumbling again. "It still feels a bit like school uniform," he moans. "You don't have to wear it," I point out. "I suppose it's better than nothing." I've had enough of him complaining, so I decide to do something about it. "Hey, Marcus, the monster needs finishing off properly. That might help." "I'm not taking my t-shirt off," he tells me. "You don't have to. Just turn round and try to keep still. Don't draw anything stupid," Marcus says. As if. But now he said that, it's too good of an opportunity to miss. There. All done. I am a twit. I think it's a huge improvement. Last day of term. Mr. Fullerman is looking much happier today. It's like we've got a different teacher. "Hello, Class 5F. Who's pleased it's the last day of term?" I think Mr. Fullerman is. I shout, "Me!" along with the rest of the class. "And who's ready for our fantastic end-of-term true or false quiz?" he adds excitedly. Sort of. I suppose it's better than maths. Mr. Fullerman divides us all into 2 big teams. Amy's lucky. She's been moved to sit with Indrani. I end up working with, guess who? Marcus Meldrew. Great. "Don't mess up the answers, will you?" he says as we get past the quiz sheet. "It's true or false. The answers are on the paper. We just have to pick the right one. How hard can it be?" easy for me. I'm good at quizzes, remember? We'll see about that. The quiz was a lot more fun than I thought it would be. We got most of the questions right, although I got one wrong, and now Marcus won't stop going on about it. He turns round and asks anyone who'll listen, "Hey, who thinks that unicorns really exist?" No one. "It's just you then, Tom." I got confused, I explain. I'm tempted to tell him what's written on the back of his t-shirt, but I don't. Besides, my one wrong answer don't stop our team from winning, which is something. And because our team won, Mr. Fullerman says we get first pick of the raffle tickets, which is very unexpected and a nice end-of-term surprise. "No one will miss out. There's something for all of you," he assures us. The first chance I get to wander casually past the table and check out what's up for grabs. Mark Clump and I are discussing what we'd like to win, when Leroy points out, "It looks like Mr. Fullerman's cleared out all his office stuff. No sweets or anything." He's not wrong. Marcus has been looking at the prizes as well. I want that pack of pens and definitely not that massive pack of sticky notes. What kind of a prize is that? "You don't get to choose. It's just luck," Amy tells Marcus. Then she looks at his t-shirt and says, "Nice drawing. Did you do it, Tom?" "Do you like it?" I ask. But Marcus butts in and says he's better at drawing than he is at quizzes, aren't you? You should check out the monster I did on the back of his t-shirt, I tell Amy. That's pretty good too. Hopefully, Marcus actually turns round to show her. "That's even better," she says, spotting my extra little doodle. Then Mr. Fullerman begins to pick out numbers for the raffle, so we keep quiet and listen. When Marcus hears his number, he's very happy. To find his prize is a fancy notebook and a pen. Amy gets a pair of socks, and when my number 3 gets called out, I rush up and spot that 3 is stuck on the jumbo pack of sticky notes. I'm really happy with my prize, but Marcus thinks it's a disaster. Ha! I'm glad I didn't win those sticky notes. That's the worst prize ever. Well, I don't think so. Sticky notes are really useful for all kinds of things. Like what? Marcus scoffs. You can play the sticky note game, where you write something on a note, then stick it on the other person's head, like this, and you have to guess what or who you are, I explain. Big deal. I prefer my notebook and pen. Sticky notes are a bit rubbish, you have to admit. Marcus is wrong about sticky notes being rubbish. There are so many things you can do with them. When Marcus isn't looking, you can do this for a start. I'm Marcus. I am a twit. True. Apart from putting notes on Marcus's back, I already finding a ton of other things to do with the sticky notes. I'm still thinking of other things to do with my sticky notes when the bell finally goes for the end of school. Mr. Fullerman tells us to have a wonderful holiday and see you in a week. Don't forget to finish all your work as time will fly by. So get everything done, okay, Class 5F? We say, "Yes, sir," like we really mean it. Well, some kids do. I'm just keen to get home. This is going to be the best holiday ever. I'm really looking forward to going away. I don't even mind when Marcus barges past me, because it's a lot of fun watching him share my sticky note message with everyone as he walks through school. Bye! You've been busy, Tom. I'm off. So useful. It is holiday time! Most of the time, I like surprises. I've already seen pictures of where we are staying on holiday, so that isn't going to be a surprise. It looks like a nice place, all surrounded by pine trees and not far from the beach. I am very excited. With my bag all packed by Mum, in the end, I go outside so Dad can squash it into the car. He is doing his best to fit everything in, but it isn't going to be easy. Who needs this many plastic containers? He asks me as two fall out of the picnic bags. Your mum's obsessed with them. I heard that, Mum grumbles from the house. She can hear everything. She has bat ears. As I pass Dad my bag, I notice that the extra seat is set up right at the back of the car, which makes me wonder what's going on. That seat only gets put up if we're going to give people a ride. I'm usually the one who ends up sitting in it, which is the first bit of the surprise. Then Dad says to me, Tom, you're in the back. Why do I have to sit in the back? Can't I sit where I normally do? You have to sit in the back because we're picking up Avril on the way. Avril? Why? What for? Shocked face. Dad doesn't answer me straight away. So, I say, she's not coming on holiday with us, is she? He mutters something about Delia wanting a friend with her and how they don't have much choice if they want Delia to come. So leave Delia behind, I suggest. This is a big surprise and not one I was expecting, and definitely not one I'm happy about. Delia and Avril have been friends for a while, and apart from the fact that Avril is a lot shorter than Delia, they look quite similar in a gloomy kind of way. At least Avril doesn't talk very much, so she won't be too chatty in the car. That's something. Mum always tries really hard to make conversation with Avril, but she only ever says things like, yes, no, kind of, not really, and that's about it. Avril coming with us is not my idea of a surprise. I'm still getting over this news when Mum comes out to the car and says, I'm sorry, Tom, didn't we tell you Avril was coming with us? No, why does Delia get to bring a friend and I don't? There's not enough room. Maybe next time you can bring someone, Mum tells me, which is now logged in my brain, and I will be remembered and brought up again the next time we go away. It was also the only way we could get Delia to not spend the whole time sulking. You know what she's like sometimes, teenagers, and that, Mum adds like it's an excuse. Why does Avril have to come with us? I asked Dad again. It doesn't seem fair to me. Because we can't leave Delia at home on her own. So we agreed she could bring a friend. At least now she won't spend the whole time being grumpy. She's always grumpy, I point out. Then Mum comes out holding more bags and tells me Delia and Avril will hang out together and you get to hang out with us. Think of the fun things we're going to be able to do together, Dad says enthusiastically. What kind of things? I ask, because I'm not convinced that Delia and Avril aren't going to spoil my whole holiday. Dad says we'll be swimming, fishing, rock pooling, boogie boarding, and even surfing. When Dad says surfing, Mum makes a big scoff noise. You're going surfing, Frank? Really? What do you mean? I'm a natural. You'll see, Dad says while doing a surf action. All I can see is surfing in the morning, then hospital in the afternoon, Mum says laughing. You might be surprised, Dad tells her. I'm still surprised that Avril is coming on holiday with us. Groan. Mum and Dad carry on packing the car, and I squeeze into my back seat and try to get comfortable. Delia turns up when everything's done. Typical. She slumps down and doesn't say a word, so I don't either. Well, not yet anyway. We're almost ready to go when Dad wants to double check that all the plugs are off. Good idea, Mum agrees, and they both go back to the house. Delia sighs while I get my snacks ready for the journey. My special snack tin. It's not too long before they're back and Mum's clutching another plastic container. Glad I didn't forget this, she says, squeezing it into a tiny space by her feet. That is such a relief, Dad tells her. All right, Frank, shall we go? Have you got everything? Mum asks us. There's no room for anything else, Delia says. Avril, I mutter, and Mum gives me a look. Have you two been to the bathroom? Do you have a tissue for your nose? She wants to know. I say yes to both questions because I'm fine. Then off we go. We've only just driven round the corner when I do my first sniff. I don't even know I was sniffing, but by the third time, Delia says, "I'm gross," and Mum passes me a whole wad of tissues. "Don't sniff," she tells me. It's hard not to now. I eventually stop sniffing. Avril doesn't live far away, and as we pull up to her house, Mum starts to get out of the car. "Where are you going?" Delia wants to know. "I'm going to say a quick hello to Avril's mum." "Why? We're not kids." Delia's not happy, but it's too late because Avril and her mum are already walking towards the car. Avril looks like Delia, grumpy, and not that excited to be coming with us. But Avril's mum can't stop smiling and waving. "It's so nice of you to bring Avril on holiday," she tells Mum. "It's a pleasure. We're happy to have her along." I'm not. As we drive off, Avril's mum is still waving and shouting, "Bye, bye, take care, bye, bye." Dad tells Avril it's lovely to have her with us. "Are we all looking forward to doing lots of hiking and climbing up mountains then?" "Don't worry, he's joking. See what I have to put up with," Delia says to Avril. Then she gets out her laptop and they both plug in their headphones and put on a film. I can just about see what they're watching, but I can't hear it, so I lean in for a closer look. Bit closer, until Delia notices and moves the whole screen so I can't see a thing. "Don't be annoying, Tom," she tells me. "Oh well, I have plenty of other things I can do, like sort out my snacks, have my juice, I drink both of them, and get out my sticky notes and decide what to write on next. Which takes me a while, but I finally decide on this. Beware, grumpy teenager alert. All I have to do now is work out how to sneak it on her back." Mission accomplished. We've driven past a few service stations already when Mum asks, "Does anyone need to use the bathroom?" No one does. Well, I do a bit, but I'm okay for now, so I don't say anything. About 10 minutes later, I realise that I'm desperate. "Can we stop soon?" I asked slightly urgently. "Why didn't you say something earlier?" Dad says. "You'll have to hold it in until we pass another service station. It shouldn't be too long," Mum assures me. I hope not. 20 minutes later, we're still driving. I'm wriggling around a lot. Delia decides that right now is a perfect time to open her water bottle and have a drink. Glug, glug, glug. She starts swishing the water around so I can hear it. "Does anyone else want some water?" Delia knows exactly what she's doing. Slosh, swish, slosh. "Tell Delia to stop," I say, panicking a bit. "How long before we're there?" Delia carries on saying, "Can't I have a nice, cool drink of water?" Dad can hear the desperation in my voice and manages to find a garage. We pull over and I dash to the bathroom. Before, desperate. After, happy face. Leap, which is a sigh of relief. Things get even better when I see Delia walking around with my sticky note message still on her back, until Avril spots it and takes it off. As I get back to the car, Delia is showing my note to Mum and Dad, and she tells me crossly, "No more sticky notes or else," which is basically an official challenge for me to do it again. Result: car journeys always make me feel sleepy, so now seems like a good time to have a nap. I'm dozing off when I hear Delia whispering about me to Avril. I keep listening with my eyes closed. She says when he's asleep, the only time he's not annoying. If he starts to bug you, just ignore him and eventually he'll go away. She's talking about me like I'm some kind of rash, so I decide to say the 3 words that no one wants to hear on a car journey. I feel car sick. Ew. Then I sit back and watch Delia panic. Avril moves away from me as fast as she can. "For goodness sake, pass this to Tom quickly." It's one of those plastic containers. Reluctantly, Delia does. "And don't eat any more snacks," she adds. Thanks to my super good acting skills, Delia and Avril keep lurching away from me every time I cough. or groan. I managed to keep up for quite a while. It's very entertaining. For me. Mum suggests we should play a game of I Spy. It might take your mind off feeling car sick, she adds. Okay, I say in a slightly weak voice. I'm allowed to go first. Not surprisingly, Delia and Avril don't join in. I spy with my little eye something beginning with C. Cows, cars, cups, clouds, coffee, cake, chocolate, caterpillar, crayon, cat, camel. Dad's being silly now, so I ask if they need a clue. This C could be everywhere soon. Go on, tell us. I do a little cough and then say, car sick, and wave around the plastic box, which makes Delia and Avril move away. Grows, haha, result. We stop playing I Spy because Dad wants to keep a lookout for signs to the villa. It is. Is it my imagination or is the sky getting darker and stormier? Mum says, looking up. It's your imagination. The sun over there, Dad says cheerily. But we're not driving that way, I point out. Exactly, Mum agrees. Glad you're feeling better, Tom, Dad says to me. Then he spots the first sign and changes the subject. Look, there it is, Pine Tree Riviera. Mum and I do a cheer. Delia mutters at last. Avril keeps quiet. Dad follows more signs and keeps driving. There are a lot of pine trees around here, aren't there? I say, looking out of the window. He's a child genius, Delia mutters. Everyone can thank me for not getting lost once, Dad tells us. You've done a great job, Mum agrees. I can't wait to see the villa, I say. Dad stops the car at what he thinks is the right place. I followed the signs. This must be it. Are you sure? Mum says, because it doesn't look much like the pictures. It looks like a dump, Delia grumbles. Avril just stares like she's in a trance, which I think is weird. Let's go inside. I'm sure it'll be lovely once we get settled, Dad says, trying to make us all feel better. I hope so, Mum sighs. We gather up all the bags and make our way to the mobile villa. Here's what it looked like on the brochure. And here's what it looked like in real life. At least it isn't a tent, and I get to have my own room. We're away and having a nice break. How bad can it be? Then it started to rain, and it didn't stop raining for almost the entire holiday. This was supposed to be the start of a fun-packed few days. I tried to keep myself busy. In the end, I kept a holiday diary. Very damp sticky note. My holiday diary. Enjoy. Wet paper. My diary full of important stuff. The real story of what happened. Date, day 1. Mood, damp. My plans for the day. To have a nice time. Weather, damp. Dear diary, that's what you're supposed to say apparently. I'm on holiday and so far things aren't going too well. On the holiday meter, it's hovering around a bit rubbish. There are lots of reasons for this, but mostly it's because, drum roll, rain, wind, more rain and more wind. Delia moaning, moan, moan, moan. Avril just being here. Mum's not packing loads of stuff that I left out to bring. Today is the first day staying at the Pine Tree Riviera. Normally, I wouldn't mind. But I wouldn't be writing anything on holiday unless Mum and Dad were forcing me to write postcards, which might still happen. But Mum gave me this diary a few weeks ago and told me it might be fun to do while we're away. I said, maybe, which is a code for no way. You have to be kidding. Because who wants to write a diary on holiday? Not me, that's for sure. I was going to be far too busy enjoying myself and doing loads of other interesting things. Or that's what I thought. Mum's brought it with her anyway, so here I am, writing away, and shock horror, I'm actually enjoying it. I could have filled up the whole book already. At first, Mum and Dad were pleased to see me keeping a record of everything that's happening, but then things started to go wrong. Will your teachers see this? Mum wondered. I said, no, but that didn't stop me from feeling like I was a reporter on a newspaper telling all the latest stories. So many. Pine Tree News, rain ruins family holiday. Mr. and Mrs. Gates were shocked that their villa at the Pine Tree Riviera was such a wreck. I feel like a fool for coming here, Mr. Gates said. The roof leaks and the rain hasn't helped, Mrs. Gates said. There's Tom has been keeping a diary of the whole event. Tom is very smart. Some of my diary pages are a bit soggy and damp. That's happened when we drove up to the villa. Dad kept saying, this can't be the place I booked. It looks nothing like the photo. Mum looked a bit very surprised, since she could hardly speak. Delia and Avril didn't say much either. I'm sure it's much nicer. Sit inside, Dad told us. I hope so, Mum sighed, putting her handbag on her head and making a dash through the rain as we followed. Delia and Avril stayed in the car. She took out the key but couldn't seem to get the door open. She wiggled it around as we got soaking wet. Dad had a go, but he couldn't open it either. Then he spotted a small window and looked at me like he had an idea. Tom could open the door from the inside, he said, pointing at the open window. Mum wasn't sure it was such a good idea, so I reminded them I have super good ninja skills. I'll be okay. Mum said, is it safe? Delia shouted from the car, who cares? Just let him do it, please. So Dad lifted me up and I climbed slowly, which was pretty easy. I opened the door and for a very short time, everyone was happy. But that didn't last long. Dad thought the villa just looked shabby on the inside, and it was on the outside. I can't believe we came all that way just to be here, Delia said, being her usual helpful self. Avril kept quiet. I didn't think it was that bad. Why don't you all take your bags and go inside to find your rooms, Mum said, trying to be positive, which seemed like a good idea. Delia and Avril disappeared quickly and nabbed what turned out to be the best room in the villa. You're over there, she told me, pointing to something that looked like a cupboard. The door was very small, and when I opened it, so was the space inside. But I didn't mind. At least I wasn't sharing. I could hear Mum and Dad outside, talking as they realised Delia and Avril were in their room. If we ask them to move now, Delia will be grumpy the whole holiday. Is it worth it? I suppose not. Let's have an argument-free holiday, shall we? Live in hope, Dad sighed. You can have my room, I shouted. Mum looked at it and said, it was really cosy and perfect for me. I'm guessing cosy means tiny. We're going to have a great time, I promise, she added, giving me a hug and then bashing her head on the ceiling. Mum often says one thing but means something else. Here are some of her favourite sayings. Mum says and Mum means. I'll think about it. No chance. No more TV, it's time for bed. I want to watch my programmes now. That looks interesting. I don't know what you're doing. Finish your vegetables. No puddings, unless you finish your vegetables. Uncle Kevin's coming round. Oh no! Uncle Kevin's coming round. Dear Diary, it's night time, in case you're wondering why my writing's a bit wobbly. I'm doing this with a torch under my bed cover. I can't turn on a light because the electricity went off when Dad was trying to make some dinner. We all went to bed early after that happened with a sandwich. Right now, Delia has woken me up and I can hear her complaining to Mum and Dad about Avril. She's telling them the funniest thing ever. I had to write it down. So get this. Avril, who said nothing for the entire journey and most of the evening too, talks in her sleep. She's having whole conversations and won't stop. What am I going to do? Mum and Dad must have suggested she sleep in the front room, because I can hear her dragging blankets to the sofa. I wonder what Avril has been talking about. This would annoy her a lot. So, the thing is, Delia, I think that your brother Tom is very smart. She doesn't really say that, but it would be so hilarious if she did. Date, day 2. Weather, rain but thinner. Mood, tired. My plans for the day. More sleep. Find out what Avril actually does say in her sleep. Dear diary, I'm a bit tired this morning, thanks to Avril. And Delia, after unpacking my bag, I've also discovered that Mum hasn't brought anything I wanted. No guitar, none of my odd stone collection, and worse still, none of my nice pens. And I've only got one pair of pants. How did that happen after Mum kept reminding me? Maybe they're in another bag. I'll have to ask. Everyone looked a bit tired, apart from Avril. I mentioned my pants situation to Mum quietly. She said, "Sorry, Tom, I don't know how that happened." I do. She forgot them. Mum asked Avril if she slept okay, and she said, yes, as if nothing happened. So I said, Avril, is it true you talk in your sleep? No, she said, like I'd said the stupidest question ever. But Delia said, I started to say, when Delia nudged me and whispered, shh, she doesn't know she does it. Mum gave me a look too, so I kept quiet. Dad wanted to tell us his plans for the day. Listen, everyone, the villa might not be perfect, but we're on holiday, so let's make the most of it and go and explore the area. Delia wasn't impressed after her night on the sofa. Explore? You said we were on holiday. That what happened to relaxing? And it's still raining. Which was true. Mum suggested we could drive to the nearest town and have a look around. We're not shopping, are we? I asked, because that's what it sounded like. Not necessarily, but we could get you some more pants. Brilliant. Mum was talking about my pants again, and in front of Avril and Delia, who said it was gross. Then Mum told us, your dad's right. We should make the most of our time here together, even if this villa is a bit grotty, and nothing works and the electrics flicker on and off, and the rooms are tiny apart from yours, Delia and Avril. At least it looks like the rain is easing up at last. As soon as Mum said that, the ceiling in the kitchen started to leak. I helped put plastic containers under the drips. Lucky I bought so many, Mum sighed. Dad said, enough. Let's see if we can swap villas, which cheered Mum up. Delia and Avril disappeared back to their room, and Mum kept the leaks under control while Dad walked around trying to get signal for the phone. I kept myself busy by writing stuff in my diary, like this, watching the rain, drawing the rain. I even wrote a rain poem in the shape of a raindrop. It's raining, it's pouring, the weather is boring. If it doesn't get better, I'm gonna get wetter. Dear diary, this is a bin bag on a roll. Usually people put rubbish in bin bags like this. But because I haven't got a raincoat or any coat, Mum decided it would be a good idea to make me wear a rain cape out of a bin bag. It will keep you dry when you go out, she said. No thanks, I'd rather get wet than wear a bin bag, I told her. We might have to walk in the pouring rain. You'd get soaked. I still wasn't convinced. No one will see you, Mum told me. Yes, they will. It's a bin bag, not an invisible cloak. I wish it was an invisible cloak. No one that you know will see you, and it won't be for long. We need to go into town to get you some pants. Mum said pants again. Then she added, and a nice treat. So I put it on. There, that's not bad, is it? Mum said. while adjusting the hood. "Why is Tom wearing a bin bag?" Delia asked. "She always turns up at the wrong time." Avril just stared at me. "It's a rain cap," I told her. "It's a bin bag," Delia said again. "You can't tell it's a bin bag, though," Mum tried to convince us. Yes, you can," Delia said, smirking. "I don't care, because I'm getting a treat," I said, like that made a difference. "I hope your treat is better than your bin bag," Delia laughed. I was about to take off the bin bag rain cape when Dad came charging in and told us we weren't going anywhere. The car sunk into a big puddle. It stuck. "Rita, you drive and we'll push." "We're not standing in the rain getting wet," Delia complained. "Make a rain cape then," I suggested. "And look ridiculous." "No thanks." "Come on, Delia. We all need to help. If you want to go out, let's get this car moving," Dad said. Reluctantly, Delia and Avril put their jackets over their heads and followed out to the car in the rain. "Call this a holiday," she muttered. Mum started the engine and tried to get the car to move, but nothing happened. So we stood at the back of the car and Dad said, "Okay, on the count of 3, we all push. Ready? 1, 2, 3, push!" As we pushed, Mum really rode up the engine, up, and the wheels span around a lot. The car was still stuck, but at least I managed to avoid most of the mud, thanks to my rain cape and Dad. "This is the worst holiday ever," Delia said dramatically. Avril agreed. Well, I think she did. It was hard to tell under all that mud. I don't look so ridiculous now," I couldn't resist saying as they went back to the villa, dripping mud along the way. "The car wasn't going anywhere, and neither were we. I think I'll have to go and find some help," said Dad. "Good idea, but maybe change out of those muddy clothes first," Mum replied, still tipping rainwater from the plastic containers. "Obviously," Dad said. I just had to take off my rain cape. It looked like we'd be here for a while, and thanks to Mum's lack of packing, not bringing any of my stuff, I thought I'd see what else was around the villa. Under a bookcase was a cupboard, and inside I discovered a few interesting things. A pack of cards, some missing, a box of board games with only snakes and ladders, 1 dice and no counters, an old telescope and a map of the stars. Stars in the sky, not celebrities. A few books of someone called Mills and Boone, and two sets of keys, which I gave to Mum. She was really happy because both sets worked in the front door, unlike the other ones we had. I showed her the other stuff I'd found, and Mum asked if I wanted to play a game, which was brilliant. "That's the good thing about holidays," Mum said as she got out some different coins from her purse. "There's lots of time to do things like this." She put the coins down to use as containers. I was the pound and she was the penny. We were about to throw the dice when we heard Dad yelp from the shower. "There's no hot water left." Mum laughed and told him it was a good practice for surfing in the cold sea. I won 2 out of 3 games of snakes and ladders, and after that Mum got out some foil and showed me how to make a foil spider. Take a roll of foil and tear out 3 strips. Be careful to ask an adult if you're using scissors. Fold 1 strip over and to make a thin but thick leg. You can scrunch them as you go to make them rounder. Now do the same with the other leg. When you have 2 legs together, cut them in the middle so you have 4 legs the same length. Put the legs on top of each other in a sort of star shape. Then hold them in the center and gently twist the legs a little. This makes it easier to make the spider body. Once you've got your legs, use the strip of foil to wrap around the center of the legs to make the body. Keep adding strips of foil and push down the sides to make it into a spider shape, and it's the size you want, like this. Then gently bend the legs up into a spider shape. You can paint your spider all over, or just paint some eyes on. It's amazing what you can do to entertain yourself when you're stuck inside for a long time. Sorry about my family. You never know what they're going to do next. Spider! Day 3. Weather, clouds, still raining. Mood, hopeful. My plans for the day. Beach, if it stops raining. It hasn't. Dear Diary, this was the first thing that I saw when I went into the bathroom this morning. My pants hanging over the shower rail. They'd been washed, which would have been okay if they were dry. They weren't, and as they were my only pair, I had to put on damp pants, which was uncomfortable at first, until they warmed up. Delia spent the night on the sofa again, thanks to Avril's sleep talking. Surprisingly, she didn't seem too grumpy about it, unlike yesterday. I think it's because Delia and Avril went to the Pine Tree Riviera clubhouse last night. They found a map showing where it was and told Mum and Dad, "We're going to find some life." I said, "I'll come with you," because a clubhouse sounded like a bit of fun. "I don't think so, not after your spider tricks." At least the spider trick worked. Mum said, "We'll join you later, Delia," and she looked thrilled about that news. Avril looked the same. Finally, Dad got a phone signal and spoke to the villa owners, who were surprised we weren't happy and told Dad it was one of their best villas. "I'd hate to see the others," Mum said. Dad told us they'd agreed. We can swap, which is good news. Delia and Avril were watching to go out, so Mum made the promises to be sensible, be polite, take the spare keys, take spare bin bags in case it rained. Reluctantly, Delia stuffed a couple into her bag, then asked for some money as well. I waved goodbye, and they ignored me. Half an hour later, we left to join them. I was really hungry and looking forward to seeing the Pine Tree Riviera clubhouse for myself. That was the plan, but as usual, things didn't quite work out. "Are we lost?" I asked, after the third time we'd walked in a circle. "It can't be too far away. Delia always says she doesn't do walking," Dad told us. I could smell food, which was making me really hungry. "We'll get there eventually," Mum said. "The clubhouse must be around here somewhere." After another 20 minutes, it began to rain heavily. "Okay, I give up," Dad said. So we all went back to the villa. "What happened to you lot then?" Delia asked when they finally got home. "Dad got lost," I told them. It was a hard place to find," he protested. "Where were you?" "In the clubhouse, like we said," which wasn't much help. So tonight we're going to the clubhouse with Delia and Avril, and most importantly, the map. The rain's almost stopped, and good news, it's the mud puddle around the car, and it has nearly gone too. Dad thinks we can free the car and even go to the beach. "Yeah, the beach," I said, jumping up and down. Delia didn't want to come with us, which I thought was weird. Who doesn't like the beach? It's more fun than staying inside. "Are you too sure we're having a picnic?" Mum said, like that would make a difference. "It's just going to rain again. Besides, we want to go to the clubhouse if we can have some more money," she added. I had to admire how Delia slipped that one in. "Dad, remind us we were swapping to a nicer villa this afternoon, so no more leaky ceilings, I hope," he said as a big drip hit my head. The best part of Delia and Avril not coming to the beach with us was getting my old seat back. Before Dad loaded the picnic box into the boot, Mum said, "Let's check the car's not still stuck, shall we?" Which seemed like a good idea. Just in case, Dad and I stood safe mud-free distance away. It worked. We jumped in the car and followed the signs for the beach, which was easy to find and not too far away. The beach looked really nice until we got out the car. At least it's warm wind, Dad said. It wasn't that warm. There were a few people surfing in the sea already. We battled our way down to find a nice place to set up. Sand kept flicking in my face, so I put on some goggles. Well, Mum weighed the towels down with stones. Mind how you sit on them, she told me. Dad tried to get changed, which is always tricky on a windy beach. Come on, let's go, he said enthusiastically. Be careful, won't you? Shouted Mum. We will, I'm a natural surfer, Dad laughed, and off we went. Dad before, Dad after. He lasted about 2 minutes before he lost his balance and got tumbled over by a wave. Some kids helped him up and kept hold of his board. Maybe I need a wetsuit. I spent more time than Dad in the sea and only got out when my fingers started to turn blue. It was a bit cold. Dad was telling Mum that the wave was enormous as she tried to put a plaster on his nose. It wasn't. At least we managed to eat our sandwiches before the wind and sand flew up and ruined our picnic. Good job I put them in plastic boxes, Mum said. I was about to go rock pooling when the clouds gathered and began to pour with rain again. We only just made it back to the car in time. Date: Day 4. Weather: not great. Mood: started okay. My plans for the day: no more bin bags ever. Dear Diary, even though it rained yesterday, I love going to the beach. It felt more like a holiday, but that was yesterday morning. What happened in the afternoon was possibly the most embarrassing moment in my whole life so far. As it was pouring with rain, Mum and Dad decided it was a good time to go into town to pick up more supplies. And some pants for you, Tom, Mum added. I reminded them about the treat they'd promised me as well, which was far more important. Dad found the town centre and the shops. It was really busy and there was nowhere to park. He kept driving around until eventually Mum spotted a space. Quick, grab it, she yelled. So after a few goes, Dad parked the car. It was quite a long way to walk back to the shops and the rain was still heavy too. Don't worry, Tom. I have more bin bags. You won't have to get wet. I put it on and thought about my treat. We found the clothes shop quite quickly and luckily the boys section was near the door. The whole place was packed. I didn't want to stay too long, neither did Dad. I was about to take off my rain cape when Mum held up some boys' pants and started saying really loudly, "Will these fit? What size pants do you take, Tom?" I wanted to hide, so I kept my rain cape on while Mum waved pants around like a flag. Which one do you like? Boxer, Y-front, stripes, or these superhero pants are fun. I'd like a pair of superhero pants, please, Dad joined in. It was all getting a bit much. There was Dad with his dodgy nose and plaster, Mum holding up pants, and me wearing a bin bag while trying to hide so no one could see my very embarrassed face. Or that's what I thought, until someone tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Is that you, Tom?" The last person I expected to see was Amy Porter. "You wearing a bin bag?" she asked me. I managed to mutter hello and something about it being a long story in a very embarrassed way. At least it stopped Mum from talking about pants. Amy's mum was there too, and it turned out they were staying at the Pine Tree Riviera as well, only in a really nice villa, not like ours. All this talk about villas reminded Dad we were supposed to be moving to a new one. We'd better get back, he pointed out, which was a huge relief for me. As we headed out into the rain again, Amy said, "I might see you at the clubhouse then, Tom." "If we can find it," I told her, still feeling awkward. I didn't even mind about not getting a treat, because I was just happy to leave quickly with my bin bag cape. Mum and Dad were still discussing whose idea it was to book Pine Tree Riviera in the first place on the drive back. How did Amy's mum get a nice villa and we didn't? That's a good question, Dad said. I keep quiet I still can't believe Amy is here. When we got back, there was no sign of the villa owners or Delia and Avril. They left a note that said, "Gone to the clubhouse, see you later, maybe." She used one of my sticky notes, which was annoying. Dad called up the owners and I heard him say, "Yes, hello, it's Frank Gates. Where? I can't see you. I'm here. Where are you? It doesn't look like the villa I booked. Right now, please. Thank you." Then Dad told us to pack up. They're coming to move us right now. At last, Mum said. It didn't take long to shove all my stuff back in my bag. So while they talked about whose fault it was, again, I remembered the old telescope I'd found. Now seemed like a good time to use it. I took it back to the villa and looked through the window in the bathroom. At first, I couldn't see much. Then, in the distance, through a gap in the trees, I saw something that looked like the clubhouse. I focused the telescope, and it was the clubhouse. How could we have missed it? It was so close. As I kept watching, two people who looked very familiar stepped onto the small stage. I adjusted the telescope again, as it was a bit cracked, to make sure I wasn't seeing things. And there, I spotted Delia and Avril singing. They even seemed to be enjoying themselves, which was confusing. I wanted to keep watching then, but Mum and Dad started calling me and saying we had to go. I wanted to tell Mum and Dad about Delia and Avril, but I didn't get a chance. They were already packed and telling me to hurry because all this time we've been staying in the wrong place. Apparently, the Pine Tree Riviera moved up to a new site last year, and somehow we ended up on the old one. Mum and Dad couldn't believe it when the owners told them that. "You mean we're in the wrong villa?" "We are." After that surprise, we got in our car and followed the owners to our new villa, which was so much nicer. "It looks like the pictures," I told Mum and Dad, which was a good thing. The owners wondered how we'd managed to get into the old villa with that wrong set of keys. I could tell Mum and Dad didn't want me to mention my ninja jumping and window climbing skills, so I kept quiet. Anyway, it didn't matter now, because I had a bigger room, even if it was only for one night, and we could see the clubhouse as well. Mum said we'd better let Delia and Avril know where we'd gone. "They're singing over there," I told them, pointing to the clubhouse. "I saw them." Dad looked puzzled. "Singing? Are you sure?" "I must see this," Dad said. But by the time he got to the clubhouse, they'd already stopped. So he brought them to the new villa instead. "I can't believe we messed up the villas," Mum said. "I can," replied Delia. Mum changed the subject and asked what the clubhouse was like. "We'll all have to go there tonight," she added. "It's boring. You won't like it. Don't go there," Delia told them quickly. So I said, "You two seem to be enjoying yourself singing when I saw you through my telescope." For a second, Delia was speechless. Avril didn't say much either. I thought Amy seeing me wear a bin bag was embarrassing, but compared to what happened later, that was nothing. Here's what happened later. Somehow, Mum managed to persuade Delia and Avril to come with us to the clubhouse. Now we could find it. "It's our last chance. We'll have a great time. You can show us your singing skills," she said. La 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 la. Me demonstrating Delia and Avril singing. "I've seen them singing already," I laughed. "Ha ha ha, that wasn't us. You're talking nonsense," Delia grumbled, which wasn't true, and I was about to prove it. When we got to the clubhouse, I pointed to all the karaoke posters everywhere, including a karaoke chart that was on the wall. "Look, Delia and Avril are number 3, I shouted really loudly. They had been rumbled. "All right, Tom, we had to find something to do. It was a one-off, wasn't it?" Avril nodded. "Can we just order some food?" Delia sighed, which wasn't such a bad idea. While we were eating, Dad spotted something very interesting. "Look, Tom, that prize for tonight is a family ticket to Chocolate World. Shall we have a go?" I was almost tempted. "Count me in," Mum said cheerfully. Count us out, Delia added. Dad put down our names and I thought of a chocolate and eventually agreed to a sing-song by the Beatles. Thanks to Mr. Fingal, I've heard loads of old bands and know a lot of their songs. The only trouble was when it was our turn to go up and choose, instead of pressing the button for Let It Be, Mum got confused and pressed the button for Let It Go. Delia and Avril left halfway through the second verse, but everyone else seemed to like our singing, and we even got a big round of applause at the end, which almost made up for the shame of doing a family karaoke with my mum and dad. I was just glad it was all over. No more embarrassing moments. Then I noticed someone waving at the back, and the person waving at me was Amy Porter. Now she'd seen me singing Let It Go with my over-enthusiastic parents and wearing a bin bag. I just hoped she wouldn't tell too many people at school about it. Well, about anything. Date, day 5. Weather, sunny. My plans for the day. So many when I get home. Mood, perky. Dear Diary, I like holidays, and this one had its fun moments. Some. As soon as we packed up the car and left Pine Tree Riviera, the clouds disappeared and the sun came out. That's typical, Mum sighed as we drove off. It's hard to tell if Avril enjoyed herself. She didn't say much on the journey home. Delia announced this was the last time she'd ever come on a holiday with us. I said, really, just to check if she meant as Derek could finally come with us next time. Mum said, we'll see, you're not quite old enough to be left alone, which Delia wasn't happy about at all. She started to remind them about everything that had gone wrong. So I can find the clubhouse and you can't, but I'm not old enough to be on my own. That's right, Delia, but that's not fair. They started to have an argument until Dad broke into song to stop them. Let it go, he sung, which seemed to work, although it did remind me of my singing shame. Right now, I'm very happy to be back in my own home, in my own room, with my own stuff, and all the things that Mum didn't pack. I'm not so happy to see this, the folder and worksheets I still have to do for school. I've got a few days left. There's no hurry, so I decide the most important thing to do first is tell Derek I'm back with some sticky note messages on my window. Hi Derek, I'm back. Dog Zombies, band practice, soon. And this one goes on my door, for obvious reasons. Keep out, no one who wears sunglasses allowed. You know who you are. Day 7. Weather, raining again. Mood, chilled. Plans for the day, band practice. Dear Diary, sorry, I forgot to write anything yesterday, but I was too busy having fun. On a holiday meter, our trip to Pine Tree Riviera ended up being around here. Fun. So there's grim, not bad, getting better, fun, and amazing. I'm hoping when I get back to school, Amy Porter will keep my singing skills to herself, or it might drop back to grim. I never did get the treat Mum promised me, so after a few hints, I've got some nice things for the Dog Zombies band practice. I had to put a note on my wafers to keep my family away. Dad had been hovering around them looking hungry. It did the trick and kept them safe until I took them to Derek's along with other snacks I'd saved. We had a good stash now, so the first thing we did was divide all the treats up between us, which took a while. Then we spent 2 hours practicing Dog Zombies tunes and talking about music until Derek stood up and shouted, Dog Zombies will be the best band in the whole wide world. Yes, we cheered and jumped around the room until Derek's dad came in and told us all to quiet down, boys. So we did, Dog zombies. Hooray! We're going to work on that plan for sure. Watch this space. Day set 8. Weather, rainy again. Mood, panic. My plans for the day. Try not to panic. This morning, the rain and the thunder woke me up, which was annoying. I had enough of bad weather on holiday, and then I spotted my folder stuffed full of worksheets, still, with all my band practice and distraction snacks. I'd forgotten to finish them off. I was thinking, what am I going to do? But then I remembered my list of homework excuses. Brilliant. I knew it would come in handy. I took a good look, and one excuse leapt out at me. Not the alien one this time. So I walked to school in the pouring rain, and my folder made an excellent umbrella to keep me dry. Sadly, all my worksheets got soaking wet and were completely ruined. Oh no, disaster! Mr. Fullerman didn't let me off the hook completely. He gave me a stern look and a new set of worksheets and a tiny bit more time to finish them off, which was better than nothing. Marcus thought I was lucky. Then he said something that I really wasn't expecting. Hey Tom, I've got something for you. Really? Thanks, Marcus, I said. Then he lifted up his school bag, and behind it was a bar of chocolate from Chocolate World. Wow, is that for me? I asked. Even Amy looked surprised. Yes, Tom, it's all for you, Marcus smiled. So I went to pick it up. Chocolate bar from Chocolate World. And of course, it was empty. Marcus couldn't stop laughing at his joke. Ha 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 ha. It started to get annoying after half an hour, so I used one of my last sticky notes to write a little message. When Amy nudged me and said, "Do you know what you should really do now, Tom?" "What's that, Amy?" I asked. "Just let it go," she laughed. "You weren't bad, and it was funny," she added, which kind of made it less embarrassing. "Actually, Amy, this is what I should do." Then I put my super good ninja skills to very good use once again. What's so funny? I talk nonsense. Marcus is a twit. So today I have 2 shouts outs. One goes to Shintu1812. So well done to him. And